What's up guys, Scarra here with the second episode of Think Before You Click. I'm here to introduce the concept of preparation. So preparation is essentially proactive things you do before the game starts or as the game is beginning to make you fully prepared for the game itself and for outcomes that happen during the game. A lot of people ask me, Scarra, how do I get better at team fighting? How do I get better at playing the game? And I think a lot of it comes down to, or at least a large majority of it comes down to preparation. Now, what exactly does this mean? So a good example of preparation is preparing for your solo lane matchup. This is probably the most common for people. So if you play a champion that gets counterpicked really easily, or play a champion that is a specific counterpick, you want to play into a certain lane matchup, and that's what people usually focus on when it comes to preparation. Now, how do you usually prepare in single lane matchups? You change your rune pages. For instance, if you're against an AP assassin, you run MR blues instead of scaling CDR. If you're against an AD champ, you run flat armor, and then you change your masteries if you're against assassins too, running barrier or exhaust, as opposed to maybe like flash ghost or even like flash heal or flash ignite, stuff like that. That's the most common, and probably it's very, very important. However, today I want to talk to you more about preparation for the other aspects of the game. So at the very beginning of the game, you should also be thinking about how your team comp operates. So when you look at how your team is fully finished out, you look at your team comp and you should think to yourself, well, how does our team comp want to play? Now, some of this answer you're not going to know immediately. You can only suspect. So you're just like, well, I think we we're better than this other team comp when we fight. Alternatively, you could think, I think this is a comp that wants to pick people off and then be really good at doing that. Or this is a comp that wants to split push a lot and then collapse from there. Typically, comps are split into things such as can team fight really well, can poke, can split push, and can pick. And usually, there's a lot of situations where you can do multiple aspects of each of these comps to succeed in your type of comp. However, you typically want to focus around one of those four aspects if you're gonna play out a composition. And the lastly and most important thing when it comes to preparation is your role in this specific comp. Now, I often get questions like, Scar, how do I get better at team fighting? And there's one way, which is the more straightforward way, which I don't consider the easier way, but the way that most people do it, which is just by playing a lot of games. So you play a ton of games and you team fight a lot, where you slowly learn and get to the point where you either have like the raw mechanics to be able to play out a team fight super well, or like the really good instantaneous decision making to be able to make sure your team fighting is splendid. However, the easier way, I don't want to say easier way, but I think the more efficient way is doing it in this way, which is thinking about how you should team fight before the game even starts. So a good example is when I play Cat Arena. Typically, how does Cat want to play? Cat's a cleanup oriented assassin. Very rarely am I going to be the first one in. So when I play Cat Arena, I look at the other champions and I think, what CCs can stop me when I initiate? Alright, Sono ulti. I also gotta look at maybe at least Cocoon, and then lastly I have to look at stuff like exhausts or shields. And so I tend to try to play around those things. It's like when I think about those things when I enter a game, I'm like, okay, I want to be initiating after the Elise and Sona CCs are down, and then I can clean up a fight really easily because they can't really stop me from doing my initial damage and resetting if I do get a kill. And I think that's a lot better way of thinking about how to play the game, because it doesn't require you to have insane mechanical skill or really, really good instantaneous decision making. It requires you to focus on your preparation that you thought of beforehand. So when the team fight happens and when it plays out, I'm only focused on very, very key things, which is specific CCs they want to throw on me. For instance, Elise Cocoon or Sono ulti or exhaust, big summoners, big cooldowns, and that's what you want to think, because it's really hard to think about every single variable in a team fight. I promise you, even pro players aren't able to really fully figure out every single thing that they have to account for. However, it's sort of like a priority list. You just go down the list, and for you, what is the most important thing? And so a really good example, probably the best example for me to think about, is like when you're playing against Malphite and you're the AD carry. So what's the number one thing that Malphite does? If he ults you, not only does he CC you, he also ground slams after the CC to slow your attack speed, effectively neutering you for a large majority of the fight, or at least the very beginning of the fight. So the direct counter to this play is you flash the Malphite ulti. And when you go into team fights, and this is what a lot of AD carries think about when they play against Malphite, is I have to save flash from Malphite ult, watch the Malphite ult, watch the Malphite ult, watch the Malphite ult. And then once they prepare for it, it's a lot easier to react when you're already expecting it to happen, rather than when you see it happen, instantaneously reacting and flashing if you don't suspect that it's going to happen. One requires very, very specific skill set of mechanics, and the other one requires you to just prepare a little bit beforehand. I think this kind of prep is really important. It will help you out a lot in terms of your overall gameplay. The one caveat I have to say to this, or the one thing I want to add on, is your preparation is not always going to be correct. So at the very beginning of the game, I'm just going to go back to the same example. I'm playing Katarina versus Elise and Sona, and I try to think about, oh, these are the most important CCs for me to hit. But little did I know that as the game progressed, I actually didn't consider Ashe Arrow to be an effective way to stop me, or that they would use it on someone else. However, Ashe throughout the game would save her arrow for only just me, only when I win in. And so as the game progresses, let's say after the first team fight I lose it because I get Ashe Arrow, the second team fight I lose it because I get Ashe Arrow, the priority of Ashe Arrow moves up on my list of stuff. It wasn't immediately in my preparation, however, as the game progressed, it changed my priority list. And that's the thing, when you're playing out games, no one's preparation is perfect. Sometimes it'll play out the exact way you expect. Okay, well, I win laning phase, and then when we team fight, we out team fight them because our laning phase won, and then like we got the objectives, we got Baron, we ended the game. Very rarely does everything go to plan. Stuff just happens, especially in ranked, especially in solo queue. You really get situations where, since not everyone's on the same page, just random stuff will happen, stuff that you didn't expect for, stuff that you didn't account for. The best thing you can do is just go with the flow. If you even think about professional teams, I've coached professional teams. Every professional team has a plan when they go into stage. When you see the coaches talking at the beginning of the game, they're like, okay, well, we have the better comp early, like pressure lanes and then follow in the jungler, or like we can team fight better than them, just make sure that we get these spikes so-and-so. And as the game progresses, maybe the coach is wrong. Maybe they didn't team fight better at so-and-so spikes because he didn't consider that the opposing team fight was just better, or maybe something else changed from their initial prep. However, the way you deal with that and the way professional players deal with that is that as it works out there in the middle of the game, they immediately try to react and adapt to this kind of new variable that comes up, or a variable they didn't think was very important, and they work with it to be able to add on to their initial preparation. I think that if you keep in mind both of these things, you'll be not only a better player, but a smarter player as well.
Oh, this is how I hit the YouTube highlight reel, man. I gotta put AP talent, insane gameplay, 1v9. And do you see my score? No, you see my score? No, 1337 gameplay.